Welcome back. Now, earlier this year, we were all called out to go and help northern Kenya as they were facing a really bad famine. And every single time that Kenyans are always called, we always respond. But there's always an underlying issue when it comes to disaster areas, especially in northern Kenya. To illustrate this, I want to run your story first, and then we'll come back and discuss that issue about gender-based violence in disaster areas.
The life of a woman is full of challenges, particularly those living in difficult areas such as arid and semi-arid areas. In northern Kenya, for example, women and children have borne the full brunt of the harsh conditions. Pictures of women carrying emaciated children have become common, signifying the resilience of women in bringing up their children even during hard economic times. Women are charged with the responsibility of fending for their families, which includes fetching water from distant areas. Lack of education on family planning has led them to bear more children than they can cater for. All these have made them vulnerable to brutality as they are forced to stick even to abusive marriages. And since girls have been taught since childhood to submit to their male counterparts, they will virtually accept everything they are told, including undergoing practices that are harmful to their health, such as female genital mutilation. The practice, now regarded at national and international levels as a violation of human rights, is considered a rite of passage in most of the communities living in the arid and semi-arid areas, a practice that amounts to sexual abuse on the girls. This, according to the community, has become part of traditions which they have to comply with. The arid and semi-arid areas are characterized with conflict, especially caused by the scramble for scarce resources to sustain the pastoralist lifestyle. The porous Kenyan northern borders and external raids from neighboring Ethiopia and Somalia have become the norm for women living here. Women living in these areas therefore face danger on a daily basis as the men go out to search for water and pasture, leaving behind unguarded wives and mothers. This therefore exposes them to brutal attacks as well as rape from the raiders. For Power Breakfast, I am Charity Waweru.
That's not even how bad it gets in famine-stricken areas and indeed in disaster areas. To help me talk about this issue is Dr. Klaus. And the first question is, what exactly is happening in these areas in regards to gender violence, especially in the hard-hit famine areas?
Well, people are on the move, and this is still going on. I wanted to start with congratulations for the Kenyan for Kenyans campaign, because this is so outstanding. Our people are coming here and say, what are Kenyans doing? Mm-hmm. And this time we could say Kenyans are doing a great lot. Yeah. But it's not over. Mm-hmm. And people are on the move. That means they live in makeshift shelters. Mm-hmm. There's no, while they are moving, there's no security, there is no safety. They are vulnerable. They are living in camp situations. I was flying to Wajir 3 weeks ago. If you look at the town, it has grown so much because around the town people are settling in very, very poor conditions. People are living in extreme poverty. There is transactional sex, but there's also a lot of violence. While people look for food, they look for the basic commodities, they look for food for their children, and they are being exploited sexually. This is happening right now. There is sexual violence. It's happened in the refugee camps. It happens outside. Okay.
In terms of the types, let's go through the types of gender violence. You've mentioned there's a lot of sexual abuse as well. But one of the issues, and we even saw it in the story, is FGM, especially in northern Kenya, as a cultural practice. Does that still happen, considering that, you know, in my eyes, they'd have bigger things to worry about in terms of the hunger situation?
I think FGM is a huge problem, prevalent in Kenya. But what we also must say that it is decreasing over many years now, and especially in the last 5 years, FGM has been decreasing. There are two communities in Kenya. I think it's the Kisii and it is the Somalis, where we have a stagnant prevalence. The Somali community is a community extremely under pressure, and I think one of the reasons why FGM is still going on is it is one of the cultural features which a group, a society under pressure is hard to get rid of.
We will be talking about FGM in a broader perspective a lot later on. But let's just go back to the specific kind of issues that are happening in northern Kenya. What are some of the causes of gender violence there, and then the effects that they have? And how does it take place? If I give you a bale of maize, you then give me a sexual favor. What are some of the stories that you're hearing?
Yeah, this is what we would call then transactional sex. A woman, a mother, wants to feed her child. So what does she have to trade if she has nothing? And this is how transactional sex happened. There is also pure violence. Women go out, we know this in Dadaab refugee camps and other areas, for collecting firewood and are being raped out there. So there are various forms of sexual violence, but I would also say if a woman is forced to sell her body to feed her child, this is another extreme form of sexual violence.
Okay, we have a question here, and I think it's extremely relevant, from a lady. Where is it? Okay, Sudi Bena, I can't even pronounce your last name, on Facebook, and keep sending us in your questions. You said gender violence, mostly in famine-stricken areas, may be very disastrous. For one reason, gender discrimination, maybe lack of basic food and water, etc. But the issue then becomes, why are we overlooking the male side of the gender issues? And we had a very interesting conversation about gender violence being perpetrated against men. And what did we say about, especially in famine areas, when it comes to the woman?
Well, I think there is a problem of men, and there's also a problem of women. We know the statistics, for example, from Nairobi Women's Hospital about the gender of survivors, and we have men there. But I think in the famine areas, the women girls are the most vulnerable population. This is just, we have to see this, and they are affected in various aspects. They have to look for food, they have to line up for food, they have to care for their children, and so they are vulnerable in many ways. And I think, as true it is that we also look at the male perspective, but I think for the time being, it's the women who are in our focus, women and girls, the girl child.
How do they empower the girl child and women, especially in that area, especially in areas where the last thing, you know, is to try and empower the woman and empower the girl child? How do we then do that at a community level?
I think we have to create awareness, first of all, on all levels. We have to alert the authorities who are present in those areas. We have to also to get to the people, and we have to make sure that, for example, food distribution is just in a way that women receive the same amount of food than men. This is why we, for example, insist when we talk about engendering the emergency response, that we collect data. How much is going to women, how much is going to men, for example, because there is an imbalance of power.
Okay, as always, people always ask, what is the government doing about this situation? And what are certain development partners as well doing about this situation in Kenya?
Yeah, let me say the government is doing a lot. I'm in Kenya 6 years. I have been helping in the response of 2006. There was another drought, and we see much better structures in place right now. Government is better prepared as it concerns the epidemic preparedness. Health services are better prepared. Of course, we are still far from satisfactory, and the drought meets a structure, an environment where it's easy for people then to fall into deeper poverty. But I think the government is doing a lot. There are health workers out there. There are people working in Afya House and in the provincial administration, district administration, who are doing a great job. Development partners are supporting the government. Government has developed a plan, an emergency response plan for the drought, with the support of WHO, with the support of the World Bank, German government and others. And we are contributing, development partners, towards this emergency plan. I think it is a fairly well coordinated response, and I think we should commend government for the good work they are doing in this area.